Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to our Wednesday night Tropics Talk. We're Weather Center live. We're going to get started here momentarily. We're going to get started with talking about a few hot itinerary items for Hurricane Otis because, good Lord, I have an enormous bone to pick with just about everybody in terms of Hurricane Otis, and I already know what's going to happen. The models weren't saying anything. How could we have known? But no, there's a huge outlier out there that definitely frustrates me about what happened with Hurricane Otis, and myself included, to tell you the truth, because I really didn't put a whole lot of energy into the East Pacific with what was happening with Hurricane Tammy. Welcome in, everybody. We'll give some folks a moment to join us. We're just getting started. We'll start saying hello to a few people. Ethan, don't worry about it, buddy. It's okay. I definitely understand. Miss Leah, welcome in. Good evening. Matthew F150, hello. Clayton, hi there. Linda, Weather Trackers, how close are we? Ethan's Life, Brooke, Janice, welcome, everybody. Good to see everyone. So, Hurricane Otis. And if you guys can already tell by the way I'm rubbing my face, again, I'm going to start off by saying I throw myself under the bus because if I had any, full-length regard for the Eastern Pacific, I would have been digging into the situation out there, just like with Hurricane Tammy and with the Southern Caribbean. Please do a detailed update in the possible storm in the Caribbean. Weather Trackers, we're definitely going to do that. We're going to get there in a moment, okay? Brian, welcome in. Eric Moneystar, hello. Enigma YT, welcome in. Elite Chief Star, last 24 hours been wild. Hey, y'all. Daniel, hello, everybody. Yeah, so we're also going to talk a little bit about what I've been brainstorming behind the scenes. So we'll give it another couple minutes, see if we can get some folks to join us tonight. I really want as many people in here as possible because I had what I consider a decent idea earlier today. My grandmother died because of Otis, and I'm very sad because she was the best grandma. Wait, are you serious, Punky? Is that a genuine comment? Was she one of the ones lost in Hurricane Otis? Please don't troll us with that. And forgive me if that sounds callous. I really don't want to sound that way, but sometimes you just never know in these live chats. So please, genuinely, if that's actually what happened, I'll lead right into what I have in store with Hurricane Otis and what I'd like to do using our channel here, guys. Judy, welcome in. Good to see you. Jocelyn, good night. Antigua Barbuda, welcome back. Nio King, hello there. David Edwards, do they have no radar on southern New Mexico or southern Mexico? I'm not too sure, to tell you the truth. I'm not really familiar with forecasting for Mexico or anywhere down there near Baja California, for that matter. But we're watching with the volume down at work. Chad, either way, welcome in. Thank you for tuning in at work. I really appreciate that, dude. All right, so while we're waiting for confirmation from Punky the Mixed Dog, right out of the gate, before I start my little bit of a roast session, if you will, I want to tell you guys right now that, every video that I can, every live stream that I can, I like to thank you guys for everything that you do, for everything that you pour out in terms of, there we go. Punky the Mixed Dog. I'm not saying that you would joke about it, dude. Please don't, like I said, don't take that the wrong way. I'm not coming for you. I'm not trying to say you're a liar or anything. It's just sometimes we have people jump in the chat and, sometimes you just can't take their word for it. I'm not putting anything towards you or directing that towards you. I just want to make sure before I go on to say what it is that I'm going to say next. But first and foremost, condolences. That's terrible. I can't even imagine. That's a front-hand result of the failure of everyone who was involved with the forecasting of Hurricane Otis, and we're going to get there here in a second. But guys, I'm going to cut to the chase. Because of you all, because of everybody who has shown support for the channel, for the way we've grown over the last 2 months since Hurricane Idalia, I would like to put together some sort of a relief fundraiser on the channel. I haven't had time today, unfortunately, to work out the incidentals. I don't even know how to use a lot of the funding platforms. Brooke, I know we were talking about it, I believe, last week for your situation as well, but I think it's time that instead of simply talking, instead of simply sitting here and talking about things from a distance, let's try to act. And I'll tell you guys the truth, I don't have my passport currently. I never needed a passport while I was in the military. My government ID and whatever orders I was on were enough to get me across borders. So I can't do a site visit. I would love to do a site visit, and I think that's a plan I'm going to implement for this channel going forward. I really want to work on getting my passport ASAP, and whatever little bit of fundage I can get from my videos, from the live streams, you name it, I want to put it not only back into this channel, back into you guys, but I also want to put it into actually trying to get myself and whoever else can out to places like this who are really struck down by really like true definitive natural disasters. Because it's true. This you can attach every bit of hyperbole. You can attach every little bit of fear-mongering, explanation. You can attach every ounce of hype that you can to this storm, and it deserves every bit of it. It deserves every stretch of the term hyperbole, of hype, of fear-monger. Like, that is the purest definition of a natural disaster, of a failure, and a busted forecast for that matter, and I'm internally livid because, myself included, we could have done something. We could have explored all possibilities, and it's unfortunate that 80-90% of the weather community, especially out on YouTube and social media, they don't want to be wrong. They don't want to risk being wrong. They don't want to risk being that hyper or, whatever. And in this case, it goes without saying, we have an actual example here in the chat, guys. We have an actual example right here in the live stream who mentions that he had relatives directly impacted, potentially taken from this storm or by this storm. And, I want to do something. I want to do something because I think everybody out there let it down. And I see what you're saying, Fum Chum. It definitely did. We had enough time. There was at least 3 to 4 days of lead time. And with everything that was out there, and we're going to talk about that, with everything that was out there, National Hurricane Center, other degreed analysts, every other tropical expert out there, they should have just tried. They should have tried to explore all possibilities. We saw it with Lydia. Lydia just happened. Lydia just exploded and rapidly intensified out there. We saw it with Hillary earlier this year. With the way the pattern is out there and with all these systems going into Mexico right now, there's no reason why we should not have mentioned, hey guys, even though the models are saying this, we've already seen it happen 3 times over this hurricane season, we really need to watch out. And nobody did. And the best part that frustrates me is the fact that all hurricane season here in the Atlantic, and this is where my rant is going to begin, all hurricane season long, we've been talking about El Nino. We've been talking about temperatures and the hot waters of the ocean, and how 30, 31 degrees Charlie, 32 degrees Charlie with perfect conditions, Cat 5. And everybody dismissed it. Nobody really wanted to explore that possibility. No one really cared to explore that possibility. We sure as hell hyped it up. We sure as hell talked smack. Oh God, guys, invest 95L. With the right conditions, we can see a Cat 5. And then every single time, either dry air, wind shear, we didn't have the right conditions. So we never fervently saw it. We witnessed a little bit of it with Hurricane Lee, and no one batted an eye. Everybody who did mention it was yelled at or flamed or lit up in their comments section. And I know that some people didn't communicate it right. I know a lot of people out there were mentioning that, Hurricane Lee, we got to watch out for impacts, and we knew it wasn't going to impact anybody. But regardless, we witnessed it in the field, live action, and we didn't do anything about it. And in this case, we had it. I've been looking at sea surface temperature charts. I've been looking at a little bit of continuity before starting my forecast review, and I'll tell you guys about that here in a second. I'm looking at all the data. I'm trying to catch myself up with all the data, and it's right there. It's literally on the wall. 31, 32 degree temperatures out there, Celsius. No shear. Massive anticyclone. Massive diffluence aloft. You saw it on satellite at least 8 to 12 hours before it exploded, and no one did anything. Every other YouTube video I watched was saying, and then we have Otis out there that could do this, and that's it. Oh, and then we got to watch Otis, guys. And it's like, you know, and again, I'm throwing myself under the bus because I was so focused on Tammy and in the Caribbean that I didn't take the time to look at it. And I know my channel is small, all things considered, but at least somebody trying to advertise what could have possibly went down, you know, could have helped at least one person. You know, it could have made a difference for at least one person. And that leads me right into my next portion of my rant right now. We got to pick and choose our battles, and I'm speaking across YouTube, across social media. We have to pick and choose our battles. I will no longer sit by, regardless of what this channel does, regardless of what happens in the tropics for the rest of the hurricane season. We're almost down to the last 30 days, so time's running out, thankfully. I'm not going to sit by and let people put this storm, what happened with this storm, on the same pedestal as Tropical Storm Philippe, Tropical Depression 21, Hurricane Lee when he hit the Northeast, as Tropical Storm Harold. You know, I don't want to see people do that anymore. I don't want to see that happen anymore. And I know it's not going to stop, but I'm really tired of people doing the thumbnails and the titles and mentioning how a tropical storm is life-threatening, dangerous, etc., and then trying to put it at the same caliber of a situation like this. Leave that verbiage for the enthusiasts. Leave that verbiage for behind the scenes. If you want to talk and hype up a little storm because you want it to get worse, absolutely do that behind the camera, off the camera, with your friends, with everybody. When it comes to things like this, when you see a situation rapidly going downhill, you can add all the adjectives you want. You can add all the energy you want. You could do a backflip and hype up all you want, and it makes sense. You need to get eyes on it quick. And it's, you know, it really bums me out that we're starting to blur the lines between situations that really need to be emphasized versus situations that, you know, guys, let's be a little realistic here. Let's not attach taglines like X, Y, and Z to a system that is maybe 1/8 of what Hurricane Otis or Hurricane Lee or even Hurricane Ian last year, Hurricane Wilma, Hurricane Lydia, Hurricane Hillary for that matter. You know, like, it's, I don't know, maybe I am getting too passionate at this point, but the bottom line is, guys, I want to do something on this channel. I've been blessed with the community that I have, and I think it's time we try to take advantage of what little momentum we've gained, and I would really like to start a GoFundMe or some sort of a fundraiser. It's going to take a little bit to get off the ground. I need to try to figure out exactly who is out there providing relief efforts. I really want to try to, you know, coordinate with somebody to pass a high amount of donations off. Since we can't do a site visit, that's out of the realm of possibility, unfortunately, not only with work and other obligations, but again, passport travel limitations. One day, 175%. But if you all are on board, and for those of you tuning in after this live stream, I definitely want to get a fundraiser going. I want to do a GoFundMe or whatever the case may be, just to start raising a little bit of money, whatever we can, as a small little close-knit weather community. And, you know, try to help out a little bit, however we can. Let me see, hold on. Let me go back to the chat real quick. It was a freak occurrence. Vet father showed a strange flash on radar, then it exploded instantly. You do an awesome job, Nazar. You always do. This was unusual. No one saw it coming. We could have, Carmen. We could have. We definitely could have. But you know what? I will stand by and say a lot of us got a little complacent and relied too heavily on the models. None of the models called for it, sure, but that's why we have us. That's why we're here, that human element. This goes to show everyone who focuses on, oh, well, the Euro said, or, oh, but the GFS, and, oh, but the models, you know, no. That's where the human element comes in. This is a textbook example of why we still have jobs, why there's still degree programs out there for meteorologists, why humans need to be involved with weather forecasting. And that's why I stand firm in saying we dropped the ball on this one. Just because the models weren't calling for it doesn't necessarily mean we couldn't have dived into the dynamics, explained what was really going on out there, used historical evidence from what had already happened, guys. Like, we already had 2 or 3 different instances in the East Pac where National Hurricane Center and the models were forecasting a Category 2, and the next thing you know, we all woke up and we were all like, whoa, it's a Cat 4 approaching Cat 5. This isn't the first time. So why did we think this was any different? Why didn't we just go off of continuity? I'd rather take the false alarm than take the miss. This is a missed forecast. They used to rip us to pieces in the Air Force when we missed a severe forecast. Yeah, we're looking at 35-knot winds, no chance for hail. Everybody's going to be fine. We just got to bring some equipment in off the flight line or get them covered up. Next thing you know, we had a 70-knot wind event and like 2-inch hail, and we lost aircraft and different pieces and assets on the flight line. No, we got ripped. We got ripped. We had to do a forecast review. We had to brief it. Like, there was a lot more involved. And like PM and I were going back and forth in comments earlier today, and I agree with him. This was definitely a mishap. This was definitely a bust, and there could have been so much more done. Regardless of how fast this snuck up on us and how fast it intensified, we've seen it, we understand it, we can recognize it. There's a lot of tropical subject matter experts out there that know 1,000 times more than me and probably 1,000 times more than most people on YouTube, etc. And we could have done something. Someone out there with 10, 20, 30 years of experience could have at least said, hey guys, we may want to look at this possibility. I know the models don't say it, but there's still that potential. We have very hot waters out there. The environment looks good. We've seen it happen already. We need to be on the watch and at least put in a discussion or put in an alert or an advisory that, by the way, rapid intensification is a potential here. We need to monitor for that. So, I mean, forgive me, I'm not ranting towards you guys at all. I'm just saying, there was no evidence, but at the same time, where we as human beings come in, we can override the computers. The moment we start letting the models do it all, we've essentially started the Terminator Judgment Day. We've let the Terminators take over. The machines are running the world now. Why are we even here at that point? That's why we got to step in and do our initialization and verification. Because I bet you 10 to 1 that something was wrong. Something was wrong in the models. And PM, I feel like you could back me up on this one. But I feel like something was missed, and there was something not initializing well with our model data, which is why they were indicating weaker storm. There was probably one singular parameter, whether it be diffluence aloft, temperatures at the surface, wind shear, vorticity, maybe a little bit of cold air coming off of the Gulf of Mexico with the fronts we've had come through. Maybe it was underestimating sea surface temps. Maybe it was messing up ocean heat. Something, guys. I'm just rattling off the long list of different things that would contribute to models under forecasting. It's a real thing. Models over forecast and under forecast on a day-to-day basis with every model run. You see it with the GFS. GFS is textbook, over forecasting all the time. See, and that's the thing, Brooke. I see a lot of people mentioning it, but no one really explored it, myself included. No one really took the time to explore and explain things and just break down case by case exactly what could have happened. I pray this changes our perspective and ways of things for the better we can and will. Exactly, PM, I agree. Praying for everyone impacted by Hurricane Otis, tropical storm, Jim Jam, 40 mile per hour, massive damage. Yeah, exactly, Fum Chum. Yeah, people be like, oh, shoot, we got tropical storm X, Y, and Z coming into Central Florida. We're looking at 40-mile-an-hour winds, guys. You got to take shelter. Look out. It's like, really? Really? Because then not only are you going to lose credibility, but at the same time, you're also going to lose viewers. You're going to lose the population. They're going to think that this is the worst thing to ever happen to them. And then when the real thing hits, it's a night and day difference. So we really got to be a lot more cognizant of what it is that we advertise. Because even though we're on YouTube, even though it's fun to talk weather, even though it's fun to meet with you guys, even though it's a lot of fun to get a little hyped, at the same time, we need to realize that clearly weather is still a sensitive subject. Weather is a real thing. It's a real science. And sometimes I think because we get so, even myself, I will throw myself under the bus again so that way I'm not, making myself seem high and mighty. But even I can sometimes get so fixated on subscribers and likes and views and how can I better do this and how can I better advertise this and my titles. But at the end of the day, we can't forget that we're broadcasting something that affects the entire planet. It affects the entire planet. It affects ocean life. It affects land creatures. It affects our animals. It affects our air quality. It affects insects. It affects the upcoming weather. This is a very volatile thing that we're dorking around with, which is why sometimes I got to give a little credit to people who will be bold enough to jump in comments and say, you're hyping, you're not, this is stupid, what are you doing? You know what I mean? I tried last night to get the news out. Whoa, I just lost all the comments. Where are we? Tuning in again, is Otis a record intensification time? I think it's even faster than Lee. Faster than Lee, yes, but I think there was one other storm, Patricia, that I think developed and deepened down even more ridiculous than this. I'm not sure how fast it intensified, but I know there was a 215-mile-per-hour hurricane, Hurricane Patricia, a number of years ago. And meanwhile, all of you have forgotten about us on Maui and the hell we went through in Lahaina and are still going through. To tell you the truth, Lady Ninari, Princess of the Sea, I have not looked out there at all over Hawaii, so I can openly say that is not on my radar at all. I apologize for that. It depends if Mexican or whatever government allows aircraft from the U.S. around the area. Yeah, that too. NHC was way off. I feel bad for those people down there in Acapulco. Many damage and lives lost. That's the thing, too, is it's not like this was a remote impact. That's what a lot of people were saying about Idalia when it hit Florida. Cat 3, but it's a very low-populated area. In this case, this was a Cat 5, and it went right into a major economy, major tourist section or sector. So that just adds insult to injury. You went into a high-populated, highly industrialized area out there. That's going to be a massive hit many, many months, maybe even years to come, because that's going to be a lot of money out of people's pockets. It's going to throw the entire localized economy out of whack because they got to repair that quick, because not only is it in the short term repairs and relief, but then the long term, if you don't get everything back up and running to the fullest extent, you're going to lose the tourist market. You're going to lose the foot traffic of different travelers and the cycling of people in and out of that area. Because I'll tell you the truth, I've never been down there. I've never traveled, but I've heard Acapulco mentioned a lot of times in terms of visits and vacation and whatnot. So, may I come on? Pat, what do you got? I'm not sure how to invite people on here. We're going to get into the rest of the stream here, buddy. So if anything, you and I can talk offline in a little bit. GFS had a WEPAC monsoonal forming in the Caribbean. I have not forgotten Maui. I knew it was bad because of a rare drought situation. I noticed this year the models are always wrong with the intensity. Like nobody really knows how strong it's going to get. Hey, what's up tonight, Mike? Welcome in. Judy, you're absolutely right. The models have been all sorts of messed up, and it's because we've had such an anomalous environment out there. Once again, shout out to PM. He's made it very known that we are supposed to be in a full-fledged El Nino oscillation, and that's supposed to change the name of the game, not only for the Pacific, but for the Atlantic as well, and nothing has been behaving itself. We have reason to believe at this point, guys, that we could probably exhaust the whole 2023 hurricane season list in an El Nino. Weather doesn't play by the rules. And that's why, truthfully, I am going to take 3 seconds to say that's why I'm not afraid to explore possibilities. I'm not afraid to forecast. I'm not afraid to put the word out and forecast before the situation arises. There's no such thing as forecasting a system that's already there. That's ridiculous, and you should click off of any video or article or any news station that says they're forecasting something that's right in front of your face. That's like if I were to sit here and tell you guys on Monday, Tropics Talk, hey, so I'm in the middle of forecasting for this Category 5 Hurricane Otis, and this is what it looks like it's going to... No, it's already happening. In the Air Force, we were very, very vigilant in understanding the difference between nowcast criteria and actual forecast criteria. Forecast criteria, depending on the level of the AOR you were forecasting for, if you were forecasting for your airbase or your 5 nautical mile range ring we used to have on our tools that we used to use, that would be nowcast, now and 8 hours out. Now to 8 hours out. Forecasting would be beyond that, beyond 30, 48, 72 hours. That's your forecast, obviously, because it's 3 days from now. Maybe I'm getting too caught up in the weeds. Maybe I'm just really letting my passion shine right now, and I could get in big trouble for this video, but I'm just saying, all year long, everybody out there was talking about how the temperatures are hot, the temperatures are abnormal, we get the right setup, and we're going to have a bad storm, and it's staring us in the face and we let the models do their thing. We let the models that have been, like you said, Judy, all year. We let the models just take the reins. We were like, it's Cat 2. We're chilling. We're fine. Like, no. How are you going to go from hyping up how things are all weird out there, and then you're going to sit back and relax when something's bearing down like this? I don't get it. Some weather forecasters, I'm missing it. I just lost all the chat again. I think the models did mention the storm being vented by jet. I ignored Otis because I don't cover any other basin as closely as Atlantic. I can only do so much. Yeah, all of us can only do so much. All of us can only do so much. That's why we're here. We cover this stuff to alert people to know what is going on. Nazari, you look beyond the models. That's what sets you apart. I'd like to think so. Nazari, I think Pat is trying to tell you if he can join you in a voice chat. In a little bit, we're going to get talking to Tropics here in a second. We're already at the 25-minute mark. I don't want to go, too far into the weeds with this. This is not a rant session to you guys. I mainly just wanted to tell you that I want to do a fundraiser. I want to do something to help with relief efforts out there. I'm not going to squander or feel all high and mighty because I've gotten the support of you guys, because I'm Mr. 5,000 subs. No, I want to take advantage of that. I want to try to give back because I didn't think that we would get this far on the channel in only a couple months. So why not take advantage, come together, and try to do something to make a difference out there? You guys have already made a difference on this channel, so I don't see why we can't make a difference elsewhere now, amidst everything. I'm no expert, but when you showed the sea temps during your video, I got concerned when I saw the strip of hot water on the western coast of Mexico. I think that fueled it. It absolutely did. I myself can only cover so much. It's not physically possible. Otherwise, I need sleep. We need those with eagle eyes to watch. That's why we have shift workers in the weather department. 24/7, whatchamacallit, 24/7. Why am I suddenly round the clock support? Round the clock, which is sadly what happening to us in Maui. We are losing our economy. See, lady, I'm sorry to hear that. It definitely opens up my eyes to how much more, number one, I need to start doing this full time, and number two, that there's so many more people out there that can be affected by this stuff. I can Discord call you. Give me a little bit to start talking legit Tropics, and then we'll come back to that if we have time. If you wouldn't mind typing a synopsis in the chat, please, that'd be great. Just a little brief blurb on that. And then we'll go from there. But anyway, guys, the main takeaway is let's do something about this. Let's try to come together. I'm going to continue to research over the next 24, 48 hours. The next couple days are going to be long days for me. We were in the hospital for the first half of the day today for a surgery, a very important surgery today. And I had been away from the weather community pretty much all day. There was no service in the hospital, so I needed to play catch-up before making my video today. It was a train wreck trying to do my video because I was going in blind and kind of going off of continuity. But, it's... Anyways, let's rein it in. Let's rein it in. We'll go ahead and we'll move on. So yeah, I'm gonna research very heavily. That's where I was going with that. I don't know why I got completely distracted. The next few days are gonna be very work and school heavy for me. Long work days. So I'm gonna do my best to try to get as much research together and put a GoFundMe together. And then when I get that GoFundMe put together, what I'd like to do is try to find an organization, even if it just be someone standard, FEMA, Red Cross, etc., whoever's still out there who has a role in this, to try to get at least $1,000 or something like that raised to at least say what little we contributed. We did more than just talk about it. I'm going to get to working on a forecast review. I haven't done one of those in a long time, so bear with me. I might have it done hopefully by sometime early next week, especially with time. But essentially, guys, what a forecast review is, we're going to go back in time and first start from scratch. We're going to look at the environment. We're not going to talk about Otis. We look at the environment. We look at satellite, radar, analysis data, both at the surface, subsurface, upper air, etc. Then we go through what the models were calling for. Then we go back through model data again and try to find where you lapsed in the potential forecast. And it's a large presentation. I'd love to bring you guys in for a live stream to break it down. I'm not going to do a video on it. I think a live stream is a lot more appropriate, but I want to review this. I actually want to go as far as to do a forecast review because this is important. This is something we need to really put under our belt and keep underneath us for future reference, okay? This guy's been dropping the ball all year long, putting all of our lives in danger. With Lydia, Atlantic and slow ocean currents are messing up the oscillating pattern. Ocean currents dictate our weather. Hi at Pat on Blockman Discord, so I can talk to you. Probably nothing bad, but if you mind when you got the chance, blah, blah, blah. Said this to you personally, and we'll say it here. NXT got caught with their pants down. Model watching, they did, and it's undeniable given the models in their forecast. Should Bradenton watch the Caribbean? I would think so. Tammy is starting to weaken. I noticed that she kind of filled a little bit in the last couple hours. We need you out there indeed, Weather Sun and Azar, because we had no warning. And see, that's terrible. You're a good brother. Stay true to what you do. Huge fan. By the way, do you have actual meteorologist experience or more just chatting about it? Anzi on 10, I have 11 years of actual experience, like hard experience. Legit. Nah, I'm not counting YouTube or self-taught or anything like that. I can show you. It's probably my other office, but I can show you. I have 10 plus years of actual weather forecasting and weather analysis experience. If my mentor, Mr. Shane Castle, was in here, he could testify to that. So it's not all just me coming on here and looking at models and talking to you guys about it. It's actual analysis and forecasting that I'm trying to do for you guys. And this is like my last grasp of being able to do that since leaving the Air Force. Almost done with my meteorological degree, so then I can finally say meteorologist David Nazario as opposed to Weather Center Nazario, but, you know, that time will come. How about Nazario Help Relief? That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I wasn't supposed to be here tonight. I have work in the morning, but how Otis went under the radar, I'm still wound up. Sorry, forgive me. I just think meteorologists need to have more balls and say, watch out. That's kind of what it boils down to. It's kind of what it boils down to. Can't be afraid to tread into dangerous territory. I was once told that that's what separates the good meteorologists from the great meteorologists. Is it possible that a hurricane will hit the USA? All right, I can tell that the chat's starting to segue over, so let's get in there. Let's go talk. So we're going to actually start off with the GFS, because the GFS, I'll admit, it has my attention. It definitely has my intention. We'll be thrilled to donate to folks down in the area affected by Otis, communities like this where we make a difference. We love weather. We love people affected by it. Time to rally. Exactly, Jacob. You're hitting the nail on the head. It's more than just talking about it. It's more than just getting the views and whatever. Like, I think it's time we try to make a difference and reach out. You guys have been reaching in on my channel, and I love you for it. I really do. And that's why I've come up with the idea that, hey, if we have something going with the channel and we can actually, get a little leverage and start pumping out things more than just videos, why not? Why not? But all right. I'll talk to you guys more about that at a later date, just so we can go ahead and get into Tropics. The GFS, we're getting started with it tonight because it actually does have my attention. I was telling a few others behind the scenes that I'm not fully trusting it just yet, because we just had this happen, I believe, a week or two ago, where we got a couple model runs, and then, it was like, oh, hey, it's showing it, and then gone. So if we still continue to see this trend by, Friday night, I'll say Friday night Tropics Talk. If we come on here and 1218Z still has something popping off, then I'll start to buy into it a little bit. This is 18Z GFS, and you can see that the 18Z GFS has Tammy wandering to the west. It's looking a little more unlikely that that's actually going to happen. But then if you take a look out over the Caribbean, we do have something else forming up once again, only moving a little further to the south. That's another thing, too. That's what I've been trying to emphasize with the GFS. If you switch over to 12Z, our hot model run, you can see that when it does form up, it moves in a totally different direction. Same general source region. It does form up out there over the eastern Caribbean, but in this iteration, it goes like this. The other iteration, it kind of goes like this and then shoots out. So that's GFS being GFS. The point that I'm trying to focus on is the fact that at least the GFS, all things considered, has this area highlighted for possible development. That's the key takeaway. Don't focus too much on the track, the intensity. No offense, but we can't get caught in the weeds of, oh my God, it's forecasting a hurricane to southwest Florida. Oh God, now it's a Cat 5 over Jamaica. Like, no, we can't get fixated on that just yet, guys. We don't even have a storm yet. So we need to watch closely exactly what the rest of our models say and do, because regardless of where the storm tracks on every weird, outlandish GFS run, we we got to make sure that we keep in mind that the GFS is still calling for development, even with its 0 and 12Z runs. We're all very familiar that the GFS loves to pop off a major hurricane on 6 and 18Z, the continuity runs, as opposed to live model runs with new analysis data. So to see it consistently between 0, 6, 12, and 18, as opposed to 0 and then nothing, 18, then nothing, it's been showing something down there, whether it just be areas of low pressure or, actual hurricanes. Do I think that we're going the hurricane route? It's possible. Is that what we're predicting right now? No. None of our other models show that. In fact, let's go ahead and start going over to some of our other models. So here's the UK Met. I haven't seen Scrooge McDuck in our chat in a while, but I'm going to head out. I'm going to talk to other family to see if they know if my cousins are okay. Yeah, go do your thing for sure, Punky the mixed dog. And condolences. I wish I had more to say. I wish I had a cunning comeback or a metaphor or something, a word of wisdom. But at this point, it's a real life thing, and all I can send is my sincerest condolences to you. I know a few others. Janice in the chat, I know that you have been looking and trying to get in touch with some folks out there, and your messages aren't even sending because the cell service it's probably not going to be active for a little bit. They probably won't have service down there for a little while now. But here's the UK model. This is a 12Z today, and if you go through time, you can see that the UK model is also indicating development down there. It moves to the north towards Florida, and then it kind of becomes a little bit of a mess trying to determine exactly what comes out of it. Because you start off with a low down over the southern Caribbean, and you can very clearly see it turning counterclockwise, and then it lifts up in this direction, but it almost looks like we either get another area of low pressure that kind of takes over up and through here, or this could be an elongated area of low pressure that just doesn't have the opportunity to get going and then forms up into an Ophelia-like system up there. And then what's interesting is I'm seeing a lot of models doing this, but look at Tammy out here just kind of doing loop-de-loop after loop-de-loop. That's suddenly becoming a trend with all of our models as well. It's not just a couple of different, ensembles depicting it. It's very weird. Everyone want to be a weather YouTuber, but nobody want to lift that heavy-ass weight, the hive. Jacob, have a good night. Going to hope all of you are well, but for those affected by Otis, mine as well as my family's prayers are with you. Everyone have a wonderful evening. You as well, sir. Thank you. Lack of planes and mixed signals due to ocean currents not flowing as quickly. That's probably what is messing up the models. Probably. I agree. All models are kind of not great. I don't really see what models can do that we can't do with enough plane data and thought process. See, that's the thing. That's where the human element comes in again, Anzion. I see what you're saying, but at the same time, we have models because we can't always be, like PM was saying earlier, as a matter of fact, we can't always be awake, we can't always be monitoring, we can't have eyes across the planet. So we need models to kind of help supplement what we can't do on a day-to-day basis. And then we supplement the models by coming in with our ability to adjust and figure things out on the fly when the models are dorking up like they did with Hurricane Otis. We'll go ahead and switch models now. Today, earlier in my video, I had a very weird... Here it is right here. I still have it pulled up. Probably can't see it too well from where you guys are, but I have the GFS, the Canadian, the German icon, and the UK model. I want to show you up close on Tropical Tidbits, the Canadian model, and I'm very, very, very curious to see if this is going to trend now, because the Canadian model was calling for formation, however, it was in the wrong spot. The Canadian model was showing a low forming up down here off the Columbia coast and then moving this way into Central America, then getting smothered by that frontal system that's going to try to come down. Then it was showing something wandering in from the East Pac and then trying to move up like this. Now the Canadian model as a 12 Zulu today is lining up really well with the Korean model, the UK model, the Icon model, even for all intents and purposes, some of the different model runs of the GFS to an extent. The 12Z run looks very interesting, but you can see that the Canadian model is finally right on par. It's right there, dead center of the Southern Caribbean, Central Caribbean, just like we saw with our other models. So now we have even better model-to-model consistency. I'm getting a headache. I don't know why. I apologize, guys. Oof. Let me get a sip of water real quick. All right, let's tone it down a little bit. Maybe I'm giving myself high blood pressure ranting as much as I am. And I'll tell you right now, feel free to roast me if you guys want to. If anyone's watching this and you want to roast how excited or energized I get, by all means. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I'm always going to be guilty of it. The Canadian model, right on track, has cyclogenesis happening right at the same time as all of our other models, late in the evening on the 29th, or on the 28th, into the 29th, and then into the 30th, tracking up through Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and then moving up towards the southern tip of Florida as a tropical storm before running straight into that kamikaze of a frontal line, a big frontal line that's coming out of the United States. And it still hangs on. I mean, it looks like it still tries to hang on to something as it moves over the Keys and the extreme southeastern tip of Florida and then finally washes out because of all that frontal energy. And then what's very interesting, just like with what the Euro had been highlighting on some of its probability charts, it looks like there's another low that tries to spin up down there at the very tail end of the run. So I'm very curious to see what this looks like as we get into the weekend. You can see, again, there's some areas of low pressure forming up on that frontal line. If you guys watched to the end of my video, I think it was yesterday, as a matter of fact, I mentioned that the Euro does have a second round of probabilities popping up at the end of its depression run. We'll pull that up next so we can segue properly into that. Right over here. It did backpedal a little bit. It did back off a little bit for the second system. The first one gained a little bit of ground. 4 days, 5 days from now, and then especially on the 6th day, ironically, the 6th day, you look and you can see a very small area right there of up to 50%. Right through here, 45 to 50% chance of development right there. So, I mean, we're still half and half with whatever's coming out of the model or whatever the models are indicating down there. But then if you go towards the back end of this run and you look down past 8, 9, 10 days, you can see that we still have a good amount of agreement. It's still up there. That's still a 40 to 45% chance of development, but it's not as high as it was, say, for instance, 0Z yesterday or 0Z last night. 0Z last night had a much greater surface area, or I should say a margin of error of 45 percentile, and then 12Z even before that, I think it was at 288 hours. Yeah, that second entity was up to 50%. So, I mean, the Euro is still very consistent with the probabilities. I don't know why the deterministic model hasn't popped anything out yet, because we have all the ingredients there. All the ingredients are there. If the storm forms, what are the impacts? Right now, it's a little too early to say. It's a little too early. I don't want to get into impacts just yet. Little late to the show. Just got done cleaning my car. I need to do that myself. PEXTT. All my cars are suffering right now. We'll go over to the icon right now. I see your weather trackers around Jamaica is very warm, and if something forms there and lingers, it can explode. I agree, Ricardo. And it looks like we're going to have very favorable upper-level dynamics out in that general area as well, which, you know, it does worry me because we've seen it in the past. Even at this time of year, we've had a situation where something will explode out there at a moment's notice. Let's go to Icon, because the Icon has actually been being very wishy-washy with this. I haven't looked at 18Z yet. I was cooking earlier. I didn't have a chance to. Let's see what 18Z shows. So 18Z, yeah, 18Z. All the Icon runs are very, very consistent now. It shows a very broad area of low pressure, maybe a weak tropical depression trying to form. Doesn't really organize, and then it moves up over eastern Cuba into the Bahamas and then tries to form up a little bit more as it gets picked up by that frontal line as more of an elongated low pressure. And remember what I told you about the UK model? Look at what Tammy's doing out there. Tammy's just spinning. Tammy is out there just kicking it. So it makes you wonder if that's what's going to happen with this thing. If we're just going to have a extratropical, whatever you want to call it. I know that National Hurricane Center actually has it highlighted as a post-tropical hurricane on its latest forecast chart, which I agree with. It's still going to be a strong system. Make no mistake that just because they go post-tropical doesn't mean that they just disappear. That's not how that works. So the Icon has been very consistent. You know, it's been good. It's been a good model. It's definitely going weaker with that system out there in the Caribbean. It does form something up. It's just going much weaker on it. And I wish that the Icon had some of the parameters that other models do, like upper-level divergence, wind shear, etc. Brian, I saw your comment a while back. I didn't ignore you, dude. Let me go over to the Korean model. I didn't get a chance to look at the full 12 Zulu run of the KMA. I just know it's been trending on there as well. Let's see, 12 Zulu KMA. And there you have it. actually singing the exact same tune as the Icon and the UK model for that matter. So very good. Very good. That's right on par with what our other models are thinking. So, we have really good across-the-board model data. I'm also a little turned off at the fact that we don't even have like a 10, 20% chance of development out there by National Hurricane Center. When do the models have it forming? At the very earliest, the evening of the 28th. I think that's Saturday night, if I'm not mistaken, right? Is my math right? Saturday 28th, 29th is Sunday, the 30th is Monday, Halloween is on a Tuesday. So yeah, Saturday night, we could possibly see something going off out there. You know what that means though, guys, for those of you watching, if we have something forming up Friday, Saturday, we may be doing another live stream on Saturday as well and meeting up. As opposed to doing a full-fledged video, we might do another live stream to talk exactly what's happening out there. Maybe we'll have a better idea of what's actually going to happen or if anything's going to happen at all. Ian formed almost in the same spot. Kind of, sort of, Will. So when Ian came through, he actually started to form out here over the Eastern Caribbean. So truthfully, the GFS, as it is right now, or actually we'll go to the 12Z GFS. No, not the 12Z, the 0Z. 0Z GFS had a lot of people freaking out overnight because the 0Z GFS looked very Ian-esque. You see, it forms up out there in the Eastern Caribbean. That's exactly what Ian did. I remember Ian was a very disorganized tropical wave, tropical disturbance into a depression, extremely disorganized. But then as it moved, did I go to the right? Oh, no, I'm still on 18Z. Did I go to the right model run? I don't think I did. Here we go, yeah. So Ian formed up. I don't know why it went back to 18 Zulu. But anyways, Ian formed up in this general area, was very disorganized until he got to right about here. And then he exploded. And this 0Z run had a lot of people worried because it shows it deepening down and then rapidly intensifying before making landfall right in that same spot. And this is a textbook Ian Charlie solution right here. Textbook, like clockwork. This is exactly, honestly, I would almost say that the GFS at this point was forecasting another Ian or another Charlie, because Charlie followed the same exact spot, so did Ian. Came across Cuba, I believe, as a Cat 2, which is what it's indicating here, and then really exploded as it moved over those Gulf of Mexico waters just in time for that frontal system that's coming off of the United States as depicted here to catch it and slingshot it across South and Central Florida. I'd be wary of any storm in the Caribbean pulling an Otis and rapidly intensifying. Absolutely, I agree. Why do they change it to post-tropical? That doesn't make sense to me. So essentially what happens, Daniel, if no one else has answered the question, from tropical, you have an entirely consolidated, a small, entirely warm system. That's a tropical system. So what tropical means in terms of meteorology, it usually means high humidity or a lot of moisture. Typically, you more so see a lot more tropical air near the equator. So that's another little constant. When you have a system form that far to the south, it's classified as tropical because it'll typically take on warm characteristics. It'll be very consolidated, very aggressive. Tropical systems are very compact and they're very dangerous because of that. That's why we don't typically see or kind of panic over winter systems and mid-latitude and polar cyclones as much because they're not as aggressively consolidated. Believe it or not, it's general physics that allow these systems to rapidly intensify. Like, yes, it does have a lot to do with, atmosphere dynamics, but on top of that, to get a hurricane to rapidly intensify, you need it to go fully symmetrical. You need that spin to start going faster and faster. Think about it. How fast are you going to dry your clothes if your machine's moving this slow versus how fast are you going to dry your clothes if it's moving this fast? And what happens to the clothes on the inside of that dryer? They all hit the side of the machine. It's just like when you go to mix a drink with something. When you start spinning it like this, the faster it spins, notice how everything sinks down in your drink? It's the same concept as with the eye of a hurricane. With it spinning so fast, you have all that air rushing down to the surface, and as a response, what goes down has to then come back up. The laws of energy, laws of the conservation of mass That's how, from a physics standpoint, how these systems get going so fast. I mean, you look at Otis and you see how it was a slow spin, and then as it really, really formed up into a Cat 5, that thing was spinning like a whole saw blade. Same thing with Tammy last night. It was spinning very slow, looked disorganized, and then when that eye got going, it started rotating a lot faster because the center was getting a lot more aggressive. And to finish your question, or to finish answering your question anyways, post-tropical means they just come out of the tropical Atlantic, they start to disorganize, they might get a little bit of cold air in there, the eye begins to expand out. That's the real reason why you see hurricane wind fields expand. Like with Lee, with Nigel, with Tammy right now, the wind field expanding is because it's changing. It's changing from that very consolidated, very tight tropical core to a more post-tropical. It's starting to expand out like just a garden variety low pressure. Strong low pressure still shouldn't be taken as a joke, but it's changing the way it's designed. It's changing its inner structuring. It's meat and potatoes. Yeah, exactly. Sorry. And you also need good venting, but that's with every storm. Every storm needs good divergence or diffluence aloft to help with that exhaust. Both tropical, non-tropical, they need that. And tropical systems, especially because they start out as just standard thunderstorms before they get to spinning, they need a lot more divergence aloft to help bring that upward vertical motion into action to begin with. Once they get going, they can kind of self-sustain themselves. That's what's very interesting. I don't know if you guys have seen the old Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire, a long time ago, but when Doc Ock goes, Peter asks him, how do we stop it? And he goes, it can't be stopped. It's self-sustaining now. That's basically the same thing. When you have a very potent hurricane, you get all that outflow, and it creates its own area of divergence. You get localized anticyclonic flow over top of it. It literally does start self-sustaining itself. Enigma YT, I don't think it'll pull an Ian or a Charlie, but after what just happened, I'm not going to say it can't do that. I'm not going to say that it can't do that. Does it look likely right now? No, but as we start getting something forming up, that's when we gotta take the lessons we just learned and get in there and start doing some real investigating, because it's very hot out there. It's very hot out there. And we're going to have a huge anticyclone over top that general area. I know this is still the GFS, so you can never really truly determine what it's thinking, but look at that giant anticyclone that forms up over top of the Caribbean. Like, don't fixate on all this red. I think this is a huge over forecast on the GFS part, but the whole point is we're going to have a very large anticyclone out there. The 200 millibar wind is going to be a much better job. There you go. There you have it. So you guys see how we have jet energy running through here, the reds. We have very good jet energy here. We have confluent air meeting up like this. We have confluence right in through here. Notice how, just like with a fire hose, when you put your thumb over a fire hose, that would be considered confluent air. You get acceleration in the winds, acceleration in your water pressure. Same thing right there, same thing right here where I have that area where those arrows drawn. Right here you have all this diffluent flow. The air is just spreading apart. Air is just spreading apart. And that's why a lot of our models, I think, are calling for something to form up down there, because we're going to have a very favorable environment. And as that anticyclone pops up, if you guys saw in that shear model, a lot of our worst shear is going to be up to the north. And until that front comes down and helps to bring that shear down with it, that area is going to be open season. The biggest thing now is if we're going to get the tropical energy down there to be able to execute development. That's the big thing. We can have all the favorable environment in the world. We can have, the best environment that we can possible, but if there's nothing out there to spin, if there's nothing out there to trigger it, then, nothing's going to happen. The jet stream northwest of Otis was the culprit. Let's take a look at that. Let's go back and see. Let's go and do a little bit of investigating while we can. Let's go to the east. Where's the East Pacific? There it is. And let's go way back in time. We'll go to Sunday at 0Z. Which jet streak are you guys talking about? Because I just see very, very massive amounts of divergence aloft. Literally the perfect setup for a system to bomb out like that. The perfect setup. Can't see because of my microphone. Let me go forward in time and see if I can see it. Let's go 12Z on Monday. All right, anyways, we'll investigate that a little bit later. That actually happens with that storm. You better get out Orlando, Florida, because that happens. You might need to leave. You might need to leave Florida. Not trying to hype, just saying. I don't know if we're going to go that far. I definitely don't think we're going to go that far. Model from yesterday at 12Z. I can kind of see a little something in there. Helping to expedite a little bit of upward vertical motion out there. Very interesting. Waters around Jamaica are 31 and 30 degrees, which is favorable for storms and hurricanes. Oh, that's more than favorable. More than favorable. All you need is about 80 to 82 degree Fahrenheit waters to get tropical cyclone formation. Nazario, help. I'd happily give money to help people as long as they had you at the helm. I won't give money to most aides as their government run them, and we all know where that... Yeah, exactly. I agree. That's why I want to really get that figured out and worked out so we can have something going by maybe Friday, Saturday night. I think it could take a similar track to Ian, but definitely not as strong. It's really going to depend. At this time of the year, we actually don't have Ian-style tracks out of there. Usually most of our storms, when they form up down in this region, they'll just go straight out because there's just too much frontal activity for November. Now, granted, obviously, if we're in between fronts, like we're kind of seeing with some of our solutions right now, the front's going to still be back here. Anything that does form up is going to do that trademark move to the west, especially with a large anticyclone and high pressure parked over the central and western Atlantic. So it definitely has my attention. Let's go on over to the ensembles and start getting ready to close out the video. We're getting close to the end now. Go over to our 18 Zulu ensembles to round out the video. Let's see if they're in yet. They are in. All right, guys. We'll get ready to look at ensembles. Anybody want to place bets? And I'm just kidding. No, we're not going to place any bets. Let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and take a look at the ensembles, and then we'll get ready to close out the video, or the live stream, I should say. So there's 24 hours from now. GFS is still on board with Tammy going to the west and then hooking back out. And then, yeah, look at all that ensemble agreement we have over the Caribbean. Lots of it. But you know what's funny is a lot of the ensemble agreement, they don't mesh with what the operational model is showing. They have something forming there and then just moving up like this. What's interesting is our stronger ensembles bring it up towards Florida. If you go in the run, look at how those stronger ensembles down the road actually bring something up towards the state of Florida. Now, take that and do with it as you wish, because 12Z had the same thing, or very similar. 12Z had something very similar, moving to the west and then hooking up into the Gulf of Mexico is something very potent. So I don't know. Yes, PM, my special announcement earlier today was I really want to start a relief fundraiser on the channel. You guys might have to give me a couple days to get it fully straightened out and to get everything all organized and to create the profile, find some sort of an affiliate or a representative that I can actually give all of our donations off to. But I'd like to try to make some of a difference, at least contribute in a very small fractional way for our folks out there in Mexico who are directly impacted by Hurricane Otis. I would really, really love to do site visits in the future. It's definitely something I want to explore. If the Lord blesses this channel like he already has already with all you lovely people here in the chat, I would love to continue to make this more and more of a full-time gig, and actually whenever we have situations like this, not only help with relief, but do full-fledged site visits and go out to these areas that are actually impact, record the live data, record observations, and just be able to document everything for the sake of videos, for the sake of the viewers, and for the sake of folks who are looking at past events and trying to tailor their forecasts for the next one. I think that's the big thing, because we have a lot of folks on YouTube who will broadcast storms and they'll mention the conditions and the threats and all that. And you don't ever really get that firsthand experience or that firsthand insight because you're not there. Would I want to do what Jim Cantori does and dive headfirst into a storm? 175%. But I don't know when that's going to be able to happen because money and time, life in general, but that's the plan. So as of right now, just to get things started, I want to try to raise a little bit of help in terms of getting some money together to submit somewhere out there over in Mexico and just, donate a little bit to help with the recovery, because it's going to be a long road of recovery for them undoubtedly, especially with the initial images that I've been seeing coming out of that area. Any little bit of help, is going to go a long way. Is there any chance for this new system to book it for the Leeward Islands instead? Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I was actually making fun of the GFS not too long ago because it did have something forming in the Southern Caribbean and going towards the Leeward Islands. And I'm like, oh, so now you're definitely going against all of the dynamics in the tropical environment. You're going against the prevailing easterlies. You're going against the rotation of the earth. You're going against everything. So no, I don't think it's going to be able to do that. There's no way. We would also need a front to go across the Caribbean and come down like that deep, a strong front to push it that way. That's the only chance we're going to get something going towards the Leeward Windward Islands backwards. Last week I asked if something could form in the Caribbean and come towards Tampa, but it looks like something now, but hurricane season is not done yet by far. I agree. True weather trackers, we are actually overdue for one. I hope I'm wrong. Head down to Acapulco in a month or two, see what's going on. That's not a bad idea. I just don't know if I'll have my passport and the availability to do so. Mark Suddeth, Josh Morgerman does that. Oh, well then see, maybe then I would have to go ahead and connect with them somehow, some way to do something like that, because I would definitely love to get down there and help out and start trying to make a big difference. That's the whole thing behind this live stream, guys. We're still talking Tropics, and we're going to close out the video here momentarily. But the bottom line is, you guys have come in and made a difference in how I create these videos. If it weren't for all of you jumping on board and trusting me with the content that I put out and showing your love, care, and support and encouragement for that matter in the material I put out, why can't I turn around and do the same thing? Why can't I turn around and take advantage of this momentum that I'm gaining and try to give back to those who have already given so much to me and other folks who would probably benefit from continuous coverage, from relief, from help, from anything for that matter, any little bit of positive uplift that we can provide. YouTube is a powerful platform. YouTube is a very powerful platform, and I know a lot of influencers who use it just for that. And that's, we're still small. We're still getting off the ground. We're a very homegrown, mom and pop, I guess you could say, YouTube channel. But, why not make a difference? Why not use what you got? Use your blessing to bless others for that matter. Sounds extremely cliche. Sounds like I'm just making this up, but it's true. You guys have been a wonderful part of this channel. I did not think I'd actually be going this hard with my video content and looking to try to make this a full-time gig, because, it's a glorious thing. It's a really great platform. Tropical Storm Grace did affect St. Mary and Portland the most in Jamaica. Maybe I should network. I am familiar with many people online. I don't personally know them, but shout-outs help. Yeah, that is true. we could at least get water and resources and ship them to affected areas, find an agency in the area that is helping and send them supplies, water, food. Yes. Speaking of experience, make sure to give it directly to the people, organizations. The people will never see it. I agree. I definitely agree. That's going to be the hard part. I've never done this before. The most I've ever done is help with fundraisers that are already ongoing, volunteer for different things during my time in the Air Force, and all the logistics were taken care of. This would be us, we here, the people, leading this up. If you guys have any experience with fundraising, I'm not specifically at the helm here. I am not, by all means, in charge. This is our channel. I just provide the material. You guys support the material and coexist with it. So if anybody out there in the chat has any resources, or PM, you're mentioning networking, if anyone has any experience with this type of, I'm losing my train of thought, of an endeavor. If people have any experience out there, anyone in the chat or anyone who's watching this afterward, please drop me a line, leave a comment, reach out to me on Instagram. We can talk, we can get things going, because it's the aftermath that's harder than the storm itself, I feel like. If you can ride out however long that storm hits, the 6, 7, 8, 9 hours, the big thing is afterward. And that's what's going to hit these people the hardest. That's what's going to hit these people the hardest, is the aftermath of Hurricane Otis, for those who rode the storm out and were unable to really hunker down or get out of its way. And this is when they need most of that support the most. I mean, it goes with everything in life. Once the figurative storm ends, it's afterward that you really got to lean on your support system. I'm not going to lie, during Ian, the most valuable resource to get through until power was on and things were up and running again was the free water and food that was around. There we go. I wish I will start a YouTube channel and make money just for them so I can donate the money to them. I will fly there, whatever it takes. I don't care. Daniel, yeah, that'd be awesome. Carmen, I missed your comment. I'm sorry about that. Time frame would be just shortly after Halloween. Shortly after Halloween, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go back to, we'll use the Canadian model for an example, because the Canadian model has a more cut and dried representation of it. So we could see development down there between the 28th and into the 29th. This is Halloween right here, guys. This right here is morning of Halloween. We could potentially have something affecting either the Cayman Islands or just getting ready to hit Cuba, somewhere in this general area. I know the model has the low pressure stamped moving into Cuba, but I like to go ahead and give myself a margin of error. And, timing is critical with these storms, and the models being so far out, the timing is terrible. So we could have something somewhere in this general area hanging out on a Halloween. So then shortly after that, we'll go forward in time a little bit more. Let me get my cursor back. And by the time we get into, it says here that it's going to move fast. The Canadian model wants it to move fairly quickly. So after Halloween into November 1st and into the 2nd, we could be feeling the effects of whatever this is. So yeah, formation 28th, 29th, and then anywhere between Halloween and November 3rd, we'll say, depending on how slow this thing moves. Because you remember Adalia was parked down there for almost about 2 days before she came up running and gunning for Florida. Look at the screen. Most is around Jamaica. Yeah, weather trackers, you can't fixate too much on the ensembles, because right now all we're trying to do is get a feel for if we're actually going to have something form up. There's nothing concrete. We can't jump the gun and start thinking impacts, intensity, timing, because we don't have anything down there yet. We have to wait and see if the models do actually pan out and we get something to form up. Then once we start seeing formation, we can move to the next stage and start talking, okay, steering, intensity, weather dynamics, what's going to affect it, what's going to help it, what's going to hurt it, where's it going to go. Until we have something, all of this here is entirely fiction. What I look at, model to model run, I mean, yeah, it's fun to see, is it going to come towards us? Is this something to worry about? But the main scientific stance I take when trying to forecast for something that isn't even there yet is, are our models expecting it to be there? That's it. I don't look beyond that. If a hurricane is forecast 15 days from now to hit Florida, I'm like, okay, I'll see it when it gets here, because I know dang well it's probably not going to get here. We can start worrying about all the finite details after we have something down there. But I'll be honest, Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, I would definitely immediately ramp up your efforts to monitor and potentially prepare if something starts coming up. If we do start seeing something to develop as we go through this weekend, then I would say everybody out there starts sounding the alarm, because even if it stays disorganized and doesn't develop, a lot of our models think it'll either move just to your west, which will still throw some impacts your way, or come right across the island. So how close are we? True, but we really want to know how effed are we? Oh, that's true. And then we don't give Category 6 because it's pointless to make distinction beyond Cat 5. Cat 5 is like the final boss right down to the middle, so anything above 157 is just Cat 5. That makes sense. Definitely makes sense. So anyways, guys, we're going to go ahead and start closing out the video. I do apologize for folks who were tuning in after this if it seemed like I went on too long-winded of a tirade or way too passionate for my own good for a professional platform like I'm trying to carry. Then I do say I'm sorry. Sincerely, I don't want to communicate that we're going unprofessional and letting emotions get in the way. But in this case, it happens. It definitely happens because there's a lot of people affected by those big ones. We've hyped up the big ones all year. We didn't really see the big one hit. Adalia was big, but she wasn't the big one, if you guys know what I mean. And it happened out there. So that's why I'm a little more emotionally charged, because there were so many different things that could have gone right and a lot of things that went wrong, unfortunately. So still talk Tropics. We're still watching the Caribbean hot zone because it definitely does seem like it's very ripe. It has a really good potential for spitting out a tropical cyclone. And we'll go from there. We'll just continue to monitor. We're still in that holding pattern. As Robert just mentioned in the chat, the models the models have been letting us down. The models have definitely been letting us down. So, we have good consistency. We can rely on it in terms of seeing something develop. We have that to the T. Even the Euro, even though it's not spinning up a defined system, it still does have something out there. It still has an area of low pressure. This is the 18Z. We're not going to see far enough out. Or actually we can. And even if we look at 18Z, we still have an area of low pressure still trying to get going on the Euro, even though it's not stamping a full-fledged low out there. You go to 12Z and the same thing. You can see that there's something down there trying to get to forming. And it either moves north too fast to execute anything down there, or there could be a secondary run because you can see all this area of increased moisture. Come on, pen. There you go. All this area of increased moisture down here, lowering pressures all through there. Our ensembles are lighting the area up like no tomorrow. So, it's safe to say all of our models think that something's coming down there. Something's going to be down there. It's just a matter of what it is and if it's going to take advantage of what little bit of a favorable environment it's going to have. Because you switch over to 200 millibar winds, and there you have it right there. You have all that juicy upward vertical motion. It goes without saying, you go over to the relative humidity. There's a ton of relative humidity out there. It's right in through there. It looks like there's some dry air that tries to punch through, but earlier on when we're expecting development, you can see that there is a large amount of moisture influx from Central America. This is what's creating all that thunderstorm activity out there right now. It's really cool that we can actually see this. The clear delineation between our modified continental air and then our equatorial tropical air button up against it. So that's pretty cool. That's why we had all those thunderstorms firing off on that boundary right there. Some people were mentioning that that's what we have to watch for, and it's like, you guys do realize that that's a boundary, right? That's not a tropical system or any kind of tropical energy. So, yeah, I don't know why people are circling all this to watch. What I think is going on is with all those thunderstorms firing off along that boundary, we're just adding to the relative humidity and adding to the moisture in that source region that's only going to make it a little bit more primed for tropical cyclone development as we get closer to that favorable time of either the weekend or just shortly after that. But, weather is kind of unpredictable by nature, so I'd say we're doing pretty well. Yeah, living in Miami, I'm still watching every day. Absolutely, you should be. You definitely should. I'd be watching, and that's all I'd be doing. Like, if I didn't know any better and I came across a channel like mine or anybody out there for that matter just simply mentioning and reporting that, hey, guys, keep an eye out, I would definitely keep an eye out for sure. That's the big thing. Robert Arandel, you are real, Nazario. Have a good night. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate that. I'm trying to make sure that all masks are off. I love my Michael Myers masks, but I'm definitely trying to make sure that the facade is down. This is all pure, unadulterated, uncorrupted David that you're getting from me. So that's why forgive me if this live stream seemed a lot more candid and a lot more, intense. This is not, for those of you who may be watching for the first time, this is not how the Tropics talk goes down. I know this is a bit more of a casual chat room, but this is not typical. We were definitely a little more emotionally charged when we started the stream, and we're gonna keep it there. That's it. What happened in the stream stayed in the stream, and moving forward, we're gonna make sure that we do the right thing, and we just keep on keeping on, working hard to be as accurate and realistic as possible. Otis was a wake-up call. I'd rather take the hype than be told nothing at all. Just another case of human error. Nature will do its thing. My heart was aching seeing what happened last night. Insane, very insane. Extremely insane. This is Daniel signing out. I'm not worried about it until I see it with my own eyes. I agree, yeah, there's no reason to worry. We just got to keep an eye out. We know what's happening down there, so we just keep watching. That's it. That's all we can do. We can't control it, so... When will it rain? Unfortunately, we did have some rain earlier today, interestingly enough. Where I was at the hospital earlier in Davenport, we did have some good rain showers and what almost looked like tropical storm-looking conditions out there. I took some video. I haven't shared it on my Instagram, but yeah, the winds were blowing 30, 35 miles an hour, maybe even a little harder than that when the rain started coming down. And yeah, it looked very tropical storm-esque earlier today, which was pretty cool. But with all this dry air, I don't think we're going to see any kind of major activity in terms of rainfall or thunderstorm coverage across Florida. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better, at least according to the Euro. The Euro doesn't have a big system forming up, so it looks like as soon as we start to try to see a little bit, look at that little spin. Look at that little spin that comes out of Tammy right there. That little spin right there, mid-level vortice. But as soon as we get a little bit of moisture influx out of the Atlantic, we get another round of dry air, another heaping round of dry air at that. So, I don't know. Samuel, no. Unfortunately, it's actually going to get warmer out there. It's not a cold front. Right now, we have such a massive high pressure. You see all this? We have a huge high pressure out there just really intensifying our winds. You can see them coming across out of the east like so, just funneling all that dry air across the state. That's also what's going to help smother Tammy and shut her down for all intents and purposes. So, yeah. Nazario, thank you very much for sharing. Ricardo, you're very welcome. We need more intimidating storm names, Hurricane Godzilla and Tropical Storm Michael Myers. Oh, God. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you, but, wrap her up, signing out. All right, gonna definitely do that, yeah, because I'm gonna go on for another hour. Thank you for all you do to keep us informed. Gary, you're very welcome. It's definitely a grind, guys, but it's very fulfilling, and I love what I do. We live on a peninsula. Yes, we do. Kathy, welcome in. And no, it's not over yet. If I have people out there in Bermuda watching, Bermuda, you are definitely the number one concern right now because she's gonna get close. How close is still up in the air, but she's gonna try to, pinwheel in your direction. So we'll have to watch for Bermuda out there, for our folks out there on the Bermuda Island. I know I have a few viewers who pop in on occasion to say hello, so I keep you guys in my back pocket. So much for a wet winter, honestly, yeah. I mean, we're not there yet. Maybe once we fully get out of the tropical season, things will change. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, I agree. It doesn't really look like we're going to have much of an El Nino setup. We had our models indicating more El Nino-looking storms, and then they just kind of disappeared, So, thanks for tracking the system. Very welcome. It's a stagnant pattern with an omega over Alaska. Oh, there he is. Shane Castle, welcome in. Welcome in, sir. I was just talking about you earlier in the stream. Nothing bad. Just talking about transmissions and Honda Fits. I'm just kidding. No, we weren't. Let's take a look. And see, folks, Brian, if you're still in here, there it is. It was Mr. Shane Castle who taught me a lot about the different blocking patterns. So I told you, I didn't just make that up. Oh, yeah, wow, look at that. That's a huge, huge blocking ridge out there. Trademark Omega Block Ridge. And then, yeah, what's very interesting, as we're expecting some kind of development down there in the Caribbean, look at that enormous subtropical high that comes out across the Caribbean and helps to nudge a lot of our shear to the north. I think this right here, that cold pocket, is still why the euro is not developing anything down there. I bet you 10-1 if we go to different models at this same height, just a different platform, they're probably not really expecting that thing to move through there. Yeah, see, the GFS has it moving through, but much further to the west, a lot weaker, and it has a more large subtropical high forming up out there to help lift those thunderstorms up and consolidate. So maybe that's why the euro is smothering activity down there for now, or really not getting anything going. So we'll definitely have to watch. You made us comfortable with your update in Antigua, Kathy. I'm glad. I'm very glad. Tammy is over. If that's what you're talking about, Kathy, Tammy is definitely very, very much so over for you guys. We don't have anything in the immediate future in terms of tropical cyclones coming your way, thankfully. You guys are on cruise control, definitely. Actually heard the winds howling through the screen on my patio today in Bradenton. Oh, yeah, we have some really good pressure gradient winds out there. And that's what's going to keep us dry. So, yeah. But enormous blocking ridge out there. That is a trademark blocking ridge. And then it comes tumbling down along the west coast. No signs of a Rex block. No signs of a Rex block. But yeah, guys, we'll go ahead and start getting ready to close out the stream. Anzion 10, gonna sign out now. See you later, and thanks for informing us peasants. Oh, God, don't say that. Don't say that. If that's the case, then we're all peasants. I'm not over here Mr. Al Roker or anything like that. I'm just sitting here in my home office talking to you guys. But you're very welcome nonetheless. Thank you all for tuning in. If you have any additional questions, as always, or want to shoot the breeze, or if anybody else out there has information in terms of how we can set up a fundraiser and get that off the ground, because I really do want to get that off the ground, please let me know. Reach out so we can get that started. I'm going to also do a lot of research in the background and see what I can figure out between now and our Friday Night Tropics talk. I'll probably briefly advertisement in full-fledged segments at the very beginning before people start losing or before people start tuning out because I talk too much. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see, because I really want to help out. You guys have definitely blessed the channel. I really didn't think we were going to get this far, albeit in comparison to some of the bigger channels out there, we barely scratched the surface. But in my opinion, I'm sincerely grateful for you all, so I think it's time that we flip the script and go in the other direction and try to help others. Shane Castle, sir, thank you once again for tuning in. Absolutely. Love seeing you in here. Love the collaboration. It makes me miss our synoptic collaboration that much more. Maybe I'll start doing some surface analysis for the YouTube channel. Hey, guys, you can watch live as I draw the 12Z analysis this morning, and we talk about it. It won't be off the Gowham or off of Leeds, but, we can still, I'm sure I can find something out there, even if I do it by hand and print out a paper chart, go back to the 90s, the early 2000s. The KMA definitely is lining up really well with our Icon and our Canadian and the UK for that matter. So I trust what it's looking at. It's not like it's doing something outlandish. I had you on a very large speaker so the village could hear you, and they asked me where I got you because they want you in Antigua. Wow, Kathy, really? Thank you. That's not the first time I hear that. I wish that somebody could have found the news network. I think it was an Antigua network that supposedly was advertising or broadcasting my live stream during some of our coverage with Hurricane Tammy, and I thought that was so neat. That was pretty cool. That was such a fulfilling feeling to know that I was actually doing more than just talking to a live stream. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. When you can start making a difference, that's when you know that you're doing the right thing. That's when you know you're moving in the right direction. I'm not going to say successful because that comes from everybody else. That's a very perspective thing, but that makes me feel very good that what started out as a hobby, just an extension of my time in Air Force weather and a passion of mine, turning into helping others and genuinely establishing such a level of camaraderie with everybody. It's such a wonderful feeling. Very much so is. Good night, folks and ladies. Good night, Brian. We'll see you next time. We'll see you on Friday. You one of the best. We're sending you love. Kathy, thank you very much. Genuinely, thank you very much for that matter. Please, I sincerely, gratefully thank you for that. That's my inspiration right there to keep going. I've heard meteorologists say that tornadoes are worse than hurricanes at times. I understand that tornadoes cause more damage, but they only last 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, see, that's, again, that's another matter of perspective. because tornadoes can definitely be very much so more catastrophic in a shorter period of time. Tornadoes can also be a lot more, unpredictable than hurricanes. Hurricanes, when we get them on the money, we can see them coming 1,000 miles away, literally. Tornadoes, you have at the most 15 minutes if you're a good forecaster to get the warning out and get people underground and out of harm's way. So again, apples to oranges, you can't really make a difference. They're two very different disasters, very different mechanics, very different AORs that you have to watch out for. And you kind of get a 2-for-1 deal with hurricanes because you get tornadoes out of hurricanes, just different types of tornadoes. Sharon Jackson, welcome in. I know you're late. Unfortunately, you're going to have to back tune in or tune in to the archive video because we're getting ready to sign out. That is cool. That is because you care about island nations. Kevin, it is very cool, honestly. I was so excited when I heard that. Glory be to God. Amen. I say to that, Kathy, all thanks to him. I thank him every day for this channel. I thank him every day for you guys. Every time I go to church, I mention, and I keep in the back of my mind, like, God, you keep pushing me to do what I'm doing. You blessed me with this gift to talk, and I talk a lot. You guys can roast me on that. I do talk a lot. But you blessed me with this gift of being able to speak and communicate, and I think that's why I finally took the chance to exploit that. And the military and my mentors in the military definitely really helped in cultivating that. Doff Boy, what do you mean? I hope I'm not getting audited again. No, what do you mean? I'm not getting... I was getting scared. You had me freaking out for a second, because believe it or not, with all the folks tuning in from the Lesser Antilles over the weekend, my account got... There were a lot of people forcibly removed, and I hope YouTube at this point recognizes that these are all real people. I'm not buying subs, and you guys are not spam bots or anything like that. You scared the living daylights out of me. But as far as I can tell, it doesn't look like it. I don't have any hateful comments popping up. So that's a good thing. But yeah, Lord willing, YouTube doesn't audit my account anymore. Sorry, don't know why the chat is doing that. What's different from a Cat 5 hurricane to F5 tornado-wise? All right, that's definitely going to be a conversation. No, Doff Boy. I wish I was at 5.5. No. 5.1 is definitely where we're at. That's exactly where we're at. So we should have been by 5.5 at this point. I think we still lost a lot of people during that random purge of my account over the weekend with Hurricane Tammy, because no kidding, we hit that 5,000 subscriber threshold and we were still going after the live coverage, and then all of a sudden, back down to 4,800 people because YouTube suddenly removed hundreds of them. I'm not even joking. So Lord willing, that doesn't happen again, because that was very unfortunate. You good, you wonderful, you're great, and you are loved. Kathy, thank you all across the board. It's for you guys that I continue to do this, and it's been an absolute joy. I don't even know how to describe it anymore. I repeat myself because I just don't know how to communicate that I love interacting and talking to you guys. That's why these Tropics talks turn into just a casual forum. We talk Tropics, but I love having conversation with everybody because this is my only way to talk to everybody at once, as opposed to just listening to me spew out hot air in my videos and answer comments. That's why I love these Tropics talks so much. Even if we don't get a whole lot of viewers in here, I love talking to everybody. But all right, we're definitely going over time. It's going to be an hour and a half, guys. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. It's been an absolute pleasure once again talking to everybody tonight. We're going to keep a close eye out on what's happening in the Caribbean. We're going to continue to monitor what Tammy is doing as well, because she's not out of the game just yet, as we were mentioned earlier in the chat. Kathy, you mentioned that. And I will slowly but surely start to compile some data on Hurricane Otis, so we can get that little bit of a Weather Center forecast review going on for future reference, something we can keep in the files in between hurricane seasons, so that way we have something in our arsenal for next hurricane season, especially if it's looking a lot more hot water and La Nina, because that could be very bad. I've heard about a possible development in the upcoming days in the Caribbean. You're absolutely right, Dorkio Storm Chaser. You're absolutely right. There's reason to suspect we might have a little bit of a wave or a disturbance popping off out there. So we'll see. I'm not sounding the alarm just yet. It's all possibilities right now, especially with how poor the models have been doing. But we got a lot of good consistency, and they're initializing fairly decently out there in the Caribbean. So waiting and seeing. We'll see what the weekend has in store for us, because that's when we should start to see whatever the heck that is, maybe or maybe not start taking shape. But all right, guys. We're definitely going to mention models tomorrow. We're going to talk all about them. We're going to keep a close eye on it. And yes, there are so many variables to watch. There always are. And this year has not been cut and dried. So it's making us all work overtime. See you tomorrow. God bless you. And Kathy, God bless you as well. Thank you to you and everybody else out there who is providing the support that you guys are giving. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful thing. And it makes me feel very good about creating this community and talking to everybody. Hope all is well with surgery in your world. WX Center Nazario. Kevin, thank you very much, sir. I genuinely appreciate you. Sharon Jackson, we'll talk to you again very soon. Give us an update on the Caribbean. Oh, yeah, of course, FaZe. That's undoubtedly. We're going to talk Caribbean, especially if I see more trends in a direction of seeing some formation out there. We're going to talk about it. And even if we don't, I'm going to tell you guys, like, hey, it's looking a little less, more frugal today. So we'll see. We love it, too. This is Carmen signing out. Thank you, Nazario. Another great live. Carmen, it's been absolute joy to have you in here. It's been a pleasure getting to know you over the several streams we've had since day one. Thank you to all of my early subscribers, and thank you to everybody joining the party, because we have a long road ahead of us. We have a lot of work to do, and I hope we can all just continue to go to the top. That's what it's all about. Try to reach and support everybody that we can in this wonderful weather community that spans the entire globe, because weather is not going anywhere. Weather is always changing. Weather is everywhere, whether you like it or not. See what I did there? All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and cut the stream now before I get any more punny. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow for our next full Weather Center segment. And then Friday night, you can best believe we're going to be back here in the Weather Center live at our 8 p.m. Tropics Talk. Friday Night Hype, our favorite day of the week. Bring in the Halloween weekend on a high note. So you know what? Maybe for our Friday night, if not our Monday night, we might have another special visitor coming to see us. You never know. We're going to have to wait and see. He was created by a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful director and writer by the name of John Carpenter, and he goes by the infamous phrase of The Shape. And he's coming home. I'm just kidding. No, all right. But anyways, guys, we'll see you tomorrow for our next full Weather Center segment. Thank you all for watching, and then we'll see you again for our Friday Night Live Friday night at 8 p.m. Until then, guys, leave me a comment. Drop me a line on Instagram if you have any questions or comments. I will definitely get back to you like I always do. I can promise you that. In the meantime, folks, this is Weather Center Nazario, signing out.